All right, my guest this week on the Dragzine Podcast is top alcohol racer Rachel Meyer. What's going on, Rachel?
Oh, not much.
Just we were having a little bit of fun talking up there. You just got done doing some racing this past weekend at No Problem Raceway, and is it not fun to be like back in the groove of like some normalcy in racing again?
Oh, yeah, it was a lot of fun out there and pretty nice weather too, considering the week before it was negative here. So it was nice to get out to the track, get in some warm weather and have fun.
Yeah, that's definitely the fun part for us. I'll say northern-ish people is like when this time of the year when we go race, we get to go to like warm places, and that's always a nice change.
Oh, yeah.
Downside is, you know, July, August, September when you have to go back to those warm places and it's 900,000 degrees and you're sweating to death inside a car.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we did that once in Belrose and you could not even dry your hair. Like it was so muggy and so hot.
There's definitely something to be said about like I've been in SoCal when it's been 110 degrees. That's a certain level of miserable where the sun hits your skin. But when you're in like Oklahoma for Outlaw Armageddon and it's 98 degrees and 98% humidity and you're like you sweat and your shirt sticks to you, that sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, I know how you feel.
And you got to have a lot of fun this past weekend too, because you went some rounds and made all the way to the final, right?
Yeah, we made it all the way to the final. I had to pedal it in the finals, but we still ran pretty good. We ran a 5:35, which was our best pass of the day, but my dad got a little greedy with the tune-up about 3:30 out, so yeah.
That's sometimes you're just gonna say, and what's it like when you're inside the car driving when it sets in that like this is not going how I want it to go and there's nothing I can do about it?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to just react. You can't think about it, but the car will shake you pretty hard if you let it get out of control there. Normally you can tell like when it's starting up and start pedaling it or grabbing the brake a little bit.
Yeah, and it never ceases to amaze me. I never understood this. And I don't think a lot of people understand that like when a dragster goes into tire shake, that's a life altering experience. That's not where you want to be.
Yeah, no. It definitely hurt my head some from hitting the roll cage back and forth.
Yeah. That's the reason why you see a lot of the nitro drivers popping a mouthpiece out after a run
Yeah.
because no one likes to go to the dentist after that whole deal.
Yeah, true.
Now, I did a little bit of research on you to start with to kind of get familiar with what you were all about. And, you did a lot of junior dragster racing. You aged completely out of the program, right?
Yeah, I started whenever I was 8 and then went till I was 18. So did juniors for about 10 years.
And was that something where your dad was already into racing, so it was just a natural progression for you to just jump right in? Like there wasn't any other thing. It was like, I want to get into that.
Basically, he bought me and my sister 2 juniors and took us out to KCIR and just had us get in them and see what we thought, and we both loved them. So, which I knew we would.
It's interesting to see kids kind of like you could tell real quick that they're all about it, or someone just made a very expensive mistake, and it's funny. I've seen it to the point where like parents literally like have to pry the kids out of the cars because they think they're like go-karts. They can just drive them around the pits. It's like, no, 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 no. This is a race car. This isn't like your go-kart.
Yeah.
Racing that long for junior dragsters, and you see a lot of NHRA racers, Erica Enders, for example, kind of, she went through that full cycle. How did that get you ready to start racing full-size cars?
I think it just got me used to, leaving off the tree, learning how to wheel race and getting used to the feel of a dragster because there is a big difference between a door car and a dragster. So.
Yeah, it's a huge difference. My friend keeps a super comp dragster here at my house, and I got into the thing for the first time, and I'm going to get my license set, but I'm like, I am definitely not in Kansas anymore. This is very, very, like you have to be in a car and feel comfortable because that makes all the difference on how you're going to be able to drive it.
Oh, definitely.
And with junior dragsters, did you learn a lot of skills that you were able to kind of use and transfer up as far as your driving and what you learned and muscle memory and all that as well?
I feel like it helped me learn how to drive the stripe since I still bracket race a lot, and it taught me how to leave the line, like if I were to foot brake the car. But I actually am working on my S10, getting it ready for the No E class here at our local track. So
Nice.
hopefully I remember how to do that.
Yeah. You'd be in there and be like, there's so much room for activities in here.
Yeah.
And you still race dragsters, you race super comp, and that's a brutal class. That's brutally competitive. What have you learned? What'd you learn in behind the butterfly in a super comp car that's kind of helped you along as well? Because I got a whole new respect for super comp racers when I really started watching a lot of the NHRA All Access and just seeing how tight everything that was with that kind of racing.
Yeah, that was a big change, like learning to leave off a button and put delay in my car. Um, I don't know, I think it just helped me build up the speed, like going fast, since mine went about 175 mile an hour. So to jump from a junior to a super comp, I think was a pretty good stepping stone to get me up to the alcohol car, getting used to the way they leave, the way they launch, all
Yeah,
that
because
shit.
it jumping into it, the best drivers seem to always kind of do the whole progression deal, and look, like I said, the speed is probably a big deal, and just basically learning how to get a car to react how you want it to react. Correct?
Yeah.
Now, with a super comp car, what was your favorite part about racing one of those?
Um, I honestly kind of liked the challenge of trying to determine like how much to put in the um I'm drawing a blank now. The
In your
throttle stop.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, into the throttle stop to get your car to run 890 or whatever you wanted to run, like if you wanted to hold a few numbers. I kind of liked the challenge of that part. A lot of people use, like a computer program that they just type in the weather and what their car ran before and it tells them what to do, but I never did it that way. I never had access to that, so I don't know. I kind of liked that part.
Do you think being able to do like did that sort of tuning really help you with the car a lot more and be able to drive better because you really kind of played with the inner workings of it?
I'd like to hope it did, but honestly, I was never the best in super comp. I struggled leaving the tree a lot of times, but I feel like it gave me more confidence in what my car was going to run.
Right on. Yeah, that I think that is very important as a driver is having that level of confidence, and it makes a big difference in how you can do with the car and what you can do with the car as well. Now, top alcohol
Mhm.
dragster, was that always your end goal for what you wanted to do like throughout the whole deal? Is that like kind of was that the family plan?
Yeah, yeah, it always was. I mean, we didn't talk about it much growing up. Not until I was in college did my dad start talking to us about, like Megan started going to the Frank Hawley school to learn more about driving. And yeah, he kind of waited till we were a little more mature and thought we could handle it before we got serious about driving the alcohol cars.
Yeah, that's again, it's definitely a big step up. What was it like, your first rip in an alcohol car? Because let alone like blower cars are different, but an injected car is that they're angry. What was that like for you?
Honestly, the first time I hit the gas, it threw me back so hard my foot flew off the pedal. And then once I finally felt confident enough to make a half track pass, once that like clutch engaged and it really got your speed going up there even more, I felt like I started to get tunnel vision and it looked like the bleachers were just flying by me. So it took a little while for I want to say like my brain and my eyesight to get used to that speed. And now it kind of feels normal.
Is it something where you really have to you plan ahead, you don't react, right, when you're driving one of those cars?
Yeah, you just kind of have to know what you're going to do. Like if it shakes, you need to either pedal it or you have to have a plan to grab the brake a little bit. You just you just have to be able to react on an instant.
Yeah, it's funny listening to racers that race something that goes 250 plus miles an hour, is that they all say the same thing, is that it doesn't, like, you get used to it where it slows down, but you still have to make sure that you have your point that you're looking at down track and paying attention, because one of these, they get away from you in a hurry.
Yeah, they do. And honestly, like most runs are just a little longer than 5 seconds, and that's not a whole lot of time, you know?
No, it's funny that it seems like it's not a lot of time, but it kind of is, especially when things aren't going right. It really, you have to be ready for anything.
Yeah.
Now, what is it about top alcohol racing that really kind of, attracts you to it, that, really makes you just want to get up on a race weekend and spend hours on end at the track doing it?
Well, I'd say I'm a very competitive person, so any kind of racing I love doing. The thing I love about the alcohol cars is that we actually like tear into them every pass. You actually have to put a tune up in them every pass, whereas like some of like my super comp car, I hardly ever do anything to it between passes or every weekend, and each class has its challenge, and I just really love going fast, and I love spending time with my family out at the track. And honestly, our class, it's not super big class, so I feel like everyone knows everyone, and we all get along and feel like family and are there to help each other out, even if we're about to race each other that round. So,
It's really cool for me to watch that kind of camaraderie in the alcohol class. I still call it top alcohol, just, that's growing up, that's what it always was. And like, the camaraderie is there because it's basically, they really are, you guys are baby professional teams. Even the teams that are, all volunteers, there's a lot of work that goes into turning these cars around. It is not lawn chairs and battery chargers like a .90 car.
yeah.
Typically, you do a lot, you do the clutch in your own car, right?
Yeah.
Is that something that, knowing how that process works, does that also make you a better driver and be able to give you better feedback to the crew chief for tuning?
Sometimes I feel like it is. I have always been interested in those cars and the motors, and I can actually do any part of the car. I used to just be my dad's like fill-in person. If he was shorthanded someone, I would step in and help out. I feel like as a driver, yeah, it makes me know when a hole's out, what that feels like, when we shake, like knowing if it was a clutch problem getting too hot, too much fuel in there, too much timing. I don't know. I like to think sometimes it helps.
Oh, I think it totally does. You see a lot of the, like someone like Larry Dixon, who's an amazing driver, or Ron Capps, that they worked on those cars, and Capps even said sometimes he almost gets bored not working on the car anymore.
Yeah.
It's like because all I do is drive. I want to jump in there and do something.
Yeah, it definitely gives you an adrenaline rush, especially when you're going rounds and you don't have much time between rounds and everyone's all hyped up because you are doing good. I mean, driving alone can give you an adrenaline rush, but I think also working on the cars get your blood pumping and get you excited and going.
Oh yeah, that's crewing on a radial tire car. We've won many rounds, won championships, and like when you're going rounds, it's like you get that excitement. It's like you get back and you start doing your thing, and like it's go go go, and it's just you lose track of time, but it's a good way to do it because you're excited, you're having fun.
Yeah.
Flip side of that is when things go wrong, you don't have a lot of time. Then it's like, oh, this is gonna suck.
Yeah, then everyone's thrashing to get it done.
Yeah, thrashing is there's an art form to thrashing, to say the least. And depending on the level of thrash will also dictate on like how the feel of it is. Because
Hmm.
at Bradenton during the US Street Nats, I watched Tuttaro's team, they put a whole rack in a car because they cooked a couple pistons, and you could tell when there's like a little bit of tension in the air when they're getting ready to do the big reveal on how bad is this going to be. You see that head lift, that's like,
Yeah.
what are we working with? Is it ever been that point where you've pulled ahead and it's like that moment of this is more than just a flesh wound?
I mean, sometimes. I mean, I feel like we can tell when we hurt it pretty bad. Normally, like a rod gets thrown out the side or something, we're leaking oil pretty bad, hurt the block. So, yeah, I mean, it does suck sometimes.
Yeah, that's it's a bad day when the driver's on the radio saying, "Get the spare, get the spare ready." Like not even try to fix it, just get the spare ready.
Yeah.
Which I saw one of the Coughlins do that in the Pro Mod when they just like let all the magic smoke out. Kurt Johnson's picking up wrist pins off the track, and at the top end, Coughlin literally got on his phone and called the crew guy back at the totter and said, "Get the spare ready. This one's done." Like just that was all he said. He hung up the phone, and you look
Oh
underneath. You just
gosh.
it's bad when you see the viewing holes in the side of
Yeah.
the block. That's a bad day.
Yeah.
Well, from a driver's standpoint, can you feel what it's like when an engine's basically eating itself and something bad's happening behind you?
Well, honestly, like I haven't hurt very many motors or parts whenever I've driven. I don't have the seat time that a lot of the other drivers have, but I mean, you can definitely tell if you're smoking the tires and you're not getting off of it, like something bad could happen. And so,
So your carnage count is still relatively low.
yeah. Yeah, relatively low.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I mean, I've heard some people say, if you're not breaking stuff, you're not trying hard enough. But at the same time, when you're one working on the car, you're like, I don't want to break stuff.
Yeah.
That's no fun. You know, from your family's been dominant in top alcohol racing. What's it been like as a family racing at this level? You kind of being a part of that with what your sister's done, what your father's done. What's that been like for you?
I honestly love it. It's actually like the only time really that my family gets together because I live like 3 hours away from my parents, so I don't see them very often. So for me, it's exciting and fun because I actually get to hang out with them, spend a weekend with them, and a lot of our crew guys feel like family to us too, because a lot of them have been helping for years and since I was a little girl. So it's really fun being able to race with my dad and my sister.
What was it like for you seeing your sister kind of do all the things that she did? Because, you guys were, her and your dad were really kind of crushing some records and picking up a
Yeah.
lot of wins. What was that like for you to kind of watch that happen from not necessarily from the sideline, but as a part of that?
I was really, really happy for them. I was always watching every race whenever I could, keeping up on live timing, seeing how they were running, and I was always cheering for them from back home or for them on the sidelines. And yeah, I was really, really happy for them.
Yeah, the numbers. What was the record? I forget what was the insane number you guys
It
put up
was
at one point.
a 509 with the 0 maybe or
Yeah,
something like that.
thought it was a 50 something, a 509
Yeah.
in an alcohol car. That's cooking.
I know when she made that run, I think we all had to do a double check uh at the scoreboard because we weren't sure what it said at first since we're not used to seeing like a O number.
You're looking going, are there lights out or did she just really go that fast?
Yeah.
Did she, what was her reaction? Do you remember what it was like to see that?
Yeah, I mean, at first, I don't think she even realized what she ran, and then once she found out, she was pretty happy, pretty excited. She stopped in the lanes to, like, hug us all on her way back to the pits because we were up there also watching Julie because Julie was the next pair or the pair after that.
Yeah, and that's another interesting dynamic there is having someone like Julie in the mix as well, because again, it's talented drivers, and it just seems like
Mhm.
that like your entire family has this like farm system of alcohol drivers that come in and and win.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it is my dad too. He's had years of experience. He's learned what to do, what not to do. So we're really lucky to have him.
To me, it's almost like, in MMA, you have like the different teams that train people. It's like they come to you guys to get like that training in one of these cars to learn how to do well.
Hmm.
You won the Central Regional title last year. And what a lot of people don't realize is that in sportsman racing, it's a chase. You're constantly keeping up on where the people have done or what they're doing. What was it like for you chasing that title regionally?
Well, honestly, I didn't really realize that I was gonna win it until Indy. I noticed that I was ahead of my sister, which is rare. So she just couldn't win the next race, and then I think Dean was behind her, and I just had to make sure he didn't do too good in St. Louis, I think, and I don't know, it just all worked out because I didn't get to go to any of those races, like the last 2 or 3 regional events that they had at the end of the year. I wasn't able to go to, so I was just kinda watching to see how they were gonna do, and that was determining how I was gonna do.
It's not a fun feeling when you're not in control of your own destiny, is it?
No, it's not.
Does that change how an alcohol team or how one of you guys really like approaches some of these events? You're very strategic about it, or is that changes a lot of it, doesn't it?
It can because you can only count, I think, 2 outside of your region, so sometimes you wanna be careful which 2 you pick, and then, like, we have Julie in a different region than us, that way she has a chance to win a championship as well, so we don't wanna necessarily go to her regional events and, like, stop her from getting points that she could really use, so, yeah, you just kinda have to be careful what regional events you go to. But I think you have to at least do 3 in-region events.
And that's for me, that's what makes NHRA sportsman racing interesting across the board, is because then you mix in, you're chasing a regional and a national championship, and that just totally makes it bonkers on what you got to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
And it's not like you can lay back either. Like, I mean, what you said was a perfect example of it. You don't want to not be in control of your own destiny. You want to be the person getting chased, not the one doing the chasing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
From a team standpoint, did that change how you guys approached strategies at races or anything, or was it always pretty much we're here to win and that's it?
Yeah, it was basically, we're here to try and win. I mean, at any national event, like, yeah, we would love for one of our cars to win. It doesn't matter if it's Julie driving or me driving or Megan driving, it's just we're all a team, and if you can walk away with that Wally, that's a pretty great feeling.
What's it like racing at a regional compared to a national event? Is there a big difference in how they feel and how they flow?
Um, yeah, I kinda feel like the regional events are almost a little bit more laid back for us in a way, but they can also be a little bit more work because they're only 2-day events mainly, so, like, you have 1 day to qualify and 1 day for all the rounds, where nationals, it's kinda, like, spread out over 3 or 4 days. Um, yeah, and then it's kinda cool at the regional events because some people, like, when we're there, we're kind of the top dogs, the alcohol classes, so it's kinda cool to have fans come up to us and, like, be really impressed with the cars and really excited to meet us and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get at there, is because, for me growing up going to the regional events, at Quaker City, that was always like a treat because we got to see the alcohol cars. And that was
Yeah.
just something that, we normally didn't get to see at our local track. And it was definitely wild to see. And then I think it's interesting, like the laid back nature of versus a national event, because in a national event at the same time, it's like, it's a lot of hurry up and wait.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is.
It's hey, we're supposed to run at 3 o'clock, and then the little man comes through on a scooter and says, oh, no, 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 you're getting
Yeah.
bumped till 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, yeah, that does suck when that happens.
How does that affect you as a driver? Because you have to get yourself in a certain mindset, especially when you're driving a car this caliber. Does that really shake you, that you have to like kind of do a reset?
Um, Not really, I feel like once I'm strapped in the car and we start it up and I do my burnout, I kinda just, like, get in a routine and I feel like I'm calmed down and just focused on cutting a light and just being ready to react if I need to react. So I try not to let it bother me, but sometimes if I decide to go take a nap because we have like a 3-hour delay now, that can kind of make me a little drowsy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that I've literally had to go poke our driver and be like, "Hey, wake up. We got to go to the lanes. You got to go 200 mile an hour." And then
Yeah.
he falls asleep in the car because again, you're bolted in. When you're
hmm
strapped in a car and if the weather's just right, that's like the most snuggly little thing you could ever be in.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Unless,
know my dad's fallen asleep a few times in there.
yeah, you got to kind of poke and be like, wake up. And then on the flip side of that is when, you're wearing that multi-layer suit. And again, it comes back to it being 20,000 degrees and you feel like you're in an oven. That's no
Oh,
bueno.
yeah. Yeah.
Now, you just recently got engaged and
Yeah.
you got engaged to a racer.
hmm
Was that, did that just kind of happen? What, how did that whole deal come about?
Oh, I don't know. Like, how did we meet or how did
Yeah,
we get
yeah. I mean,
engaged?
was it a track romance kind of deal?
Yeah.
Is that how that kind of worked out?
Yeah, we met at my local track called Mocan. Actually, him and two of his brothers race, and then his dad sometimes, and he has a few uncles and cousins that race too. So I just noticed them all at Mocan a few times, and he said hi to me in the lanes, and I don't know, then we just started talking.
And it's nice to have a significant other that you don't have to introduce to the lifestyle and like
Yeah.
prepare them for it, that, that they're ready for it, right?
Yeah, yeah, he totally gets it. He might love racing more than I do, honestly.
So you gonna if you start to put him to work on the car at all, is he wanting to do that or is he just let you do your own thing?
Yeah, well, he's been able to come to a few of my races, and my dad's put him to work. He's taught him how to build our heads. I've had him help me pack the chutes. We have him help out whenever we need an extra set of hands.
Yeah, and again, that comes down to being important and having that shared relationship that it makes it, and it makes it easier to go racing.
Yeah, it definitely does. The only
And
thing that sucks is that sometimes whenever I'm racing, he's racing too at a different track. So sometimes it sucks we can't be at the same track cheering each other on.
and then you got to mix in the fact that you've got to plan a wedding during racing season. Like my family, my brother-in-law is a college football coach, and my brother was a high school coach, and my dad was a coach, and we've actually had to plan weddings around football season and around Ohio State football season as well. Is this something where the calendar had to come out to plan a wedding around racing?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. We haven't picked a date yet, so we're still trying. We'd like to aim for like the end of November whenever all the racing's done, but it might still be nice enough to have a or a outside wedding. So it's what we're aiming for. We're still looking at venues, so we have to see what they have available.
My sister got married in July outside in Ohio to get around that. And we actually had like extra like tuck shirts because it
Oh
was
yeah.
so freaking
So
hot.
hot.
And yeah, it's definitely it's interesting when you're able to bring all that together because it comes back to the thing that racing really is a family deal. And it's nice to have someone that you can bring in that just doesn't skip a beat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really nice.
Speaking of not skipping a beat, we got to thank our sponsor for this particular show, Airflow Research AFR heads, the original CNC ported cylinder head. From the street enthusiast to the hardcore racer, AFR has designed a cylinder head for your application with one goal in mind: to just go fast. You got to sneak the sponsors in because sponsors are an extremely important part of the sport. And
Yeah.
is that something that you are active in recruiting your own sponsors, or how's that work for you?
Well, Megan actually does a lot of that for the whole team. That's kind of one of her job duties on the team is to help recruit sponsors. But I have taken her driven by media class to try and learn more. I just honestly haven't had a lot of time to put towards finding more sponsors.
And like being on the show and doing media stuff, that's an important part. A lot of people don't realize how you represent yourself to attract more sponsors and how you represent your sponsors.
hmm
is that something that you're still adjusting to, or is it, it's probably a little bit of a change?
Yeah, it is quite a bit of a change for me because all my time racing, I haven't really had any sponsors that I've had to, I don't know, do
Appease.
social, yeah, exactly, do social media posts for and all this stuff. So I'm trying to learn how to do that and work that in at the racetrack too, like between working on the car and stuff, trying to find time to get some pictures.
I will say this though, you're doing a great job so far that you're smiling and you're happy and you're engaged, because it's a big difference. Like when you're in the media and you see a lot of racing, you can tell where some people are like, I'm not gonna say a block of wood, but it's like they don't know how to like get people to like them, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, that does.
Is there any drivers that you've really kind of like try to pay attention to, or you're going to try to steal some cues from? Because you don't give me like the John Force vibe that you're going to be at the top end with a dirty fire suit, screaming and yelling that you're going to scare poor Amanda Busick at the top end. Is there someone else that you try to pull from, maybe, or someone that you idolize as a driver?
Um, well, I really idolize Erica Enders as a driver. I look up to her a lot. I feel like she carries herself very well and she's an excellent driver and she's done very well for herself. So I look up to her a lot, and Ashley Force, they were two of my favorite drivers. And then Megan, of course, I look up to her for all the stuff that she does.
Erica Enders is one of the most terrifying drivers in drag racing. Period.
She
Doesn't
is.
You do not like, that's the cool thing I like, is that you don't have to attach female driver. No, period.
Hmm.
Same thing with the Force daughters and someone like Shirley Muldowney. Is when you put the helmet on, the car doesn't know whether you're male or female.
Yeah.
And Erica has torn out a lot of people's hearts and left them in a bad place. Poor Greg Anderson, it's like one of those things where you don't want to be like posterized, like in the NBA getting dunked on. She dunked on him. She
Yeah.
like he tried to call her out and tried to, he tried to play some strategy, and she basically just walked up and just one punch dropped him.
Yeah.
Is that something, is a driver, do you have to like psych yourself up to have like a mindset that someone's a rival, or is it pretty much you just go in and do your deal and you don't worry about what's in the other lane?
Um, I try and just do my deal, but there are a few drivers that I kind of keep an eye out for because I know they're probably always on the tree. Like I can't be late here, or else I could lose on a whole shot. Or they tend to have a very good car that, well, I'm not saying any round is easy, but like some people just make me a little more nervous. Like, I don't know.
Oh no, no, it makes sense to have someone that that it's, like you said, there are no ducks, but there's some people that you really got to make sure that you're extra tight and ready, because that they're gonna bring the noise.
Hmm.
Is there a particular track that racing these? It's funny, racing an alcohol car, any fast car like that. There's certain tracks you love to go to, and there's certain tracks you're like, this place again. You know, what's a track that you really enjoy to go race your car at?
Well, honestly, the alcohol car, I haven't taken to very many tracks since I have normally only done the regional events, and those have only been at a few tracks. I don't know. I would say Indy is one of my favorite, probably. I really enjoy their track.
It's interesting going to Indy just because of the history you feel there, and it's a long track. But the thing is, a lot of when you go to Indy, you got to make the left hand turn. If you're pitted on the oval side of the track, you better bring some snacks, because it's a long tow to get back over there,
Oh yeah, it is.
and it's even longer when things have gone wrong and not your way. That it's not a fun ride.
No.
What are your future goals for racing? Where do you see yourself going? Do you want to get in a nitro ride? Where do you want to take this?
I don't know that I would ever actually want to, drive a top fuel car full time, but I think it would be really awesome to make a few passes in them. I think it would also be pretty cool if one day I could get my funny car license, top alcohol funny car license. Just
Ooh.
knowing that they're one of the hardest cars to drive, I just want to prove it to myself that I would be able to handle it. So that would be really cool one day if I can do that.
Yes, alcohol funny cars. Like you can be anywhere on the property and know when they are on the track because they sound so angry.
Yeah.
On the chip, it sounds like connecting rods and pistons are going to about explode into low orbit, and there's not a lot of downforce on the back of those cars, so you have to shift that thing, and there's a lot going on. You're busy inside one of those.
Oh yeah. That's what I've heard.
And it's even with it with an a night an injected car, you still got because you've got your hands full with that because it's a lot of load and a low end torque versus the blower car zinging and screaming. But that when you're in that nitro car, that's got to be like an interesting put. Does it just feel like you're getting pushed down the track really hard?
Um, I don't know. I feel like I've just kind of got used to it, but yeah, I mean, they do put you back in your seat pretty good.
It's interesting how different cars and different power adders kind of do their thing, and typically with like a screw blower car, you're trying to calm them down because they're like just like a puppy on a leash. They just want to take off and go. So you're taking over your sister's full-time ride, correct?
Yes.
Now, what kind of changes is that going to make for what you do as a driver and the events you hit? Are you going to push for a national championship now with that?
I mean, yeah, that would be awesome if I could win a national championship. That's going to be the goal that we're going for. We're going to run a full season this year. I think it's about 10 nationals and 7 regionals. So we'll just have to take it one race at a time.
And going to 17 races, I'm sure that's going to be a pretty significant uptick for you. Is there anything that you're trying to like prepare for that? Or are you just going to try to drink it all in and go after the experience?
I'm just gonna try and take it all in. It honestly doesn't get too busy for us until August and September. It's about every weekend then. Right now it's just like maybe 1 or 2 weekends a month, which is I feel like pretty manageable, not too bad. But yeah, once we hit August, it's gonna be different.
Yeah, lot of busy stuff going on. And again, it's with these cars, it's not like a bracket car that you can leave it in the trailer and pull it out and throw some gas in it. It's good to go. There's a little bit of maintenance y'all got to do.
Oh yeah, yeah, there is.
Now, as far as being on a team, I'm assuming there are no team orders. If you have to line up against whoever that's on your team, it's pretty much first one to the finish line wins. Do your
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, that's how it goes. Some people might think my dad favors one car over the other, but he really doesn't. He's not that kind of person. He's going to give them both the best tune-up he can. And yeah, sometimes it's determined by the driver. I mean, Megan's beat me a lot of times because she's beat me on the tree and therefore she wins. So, you know,
And I'm assuming too that also breeds a lot of confidence and in you as a driver, knowing that he's going to give both of you the best car possible.
yeah, yeah, it does.
Now you've raced your sister heads up. Is that like what's that like? Is there like a little bit of extra scrappiness going on there? Is there some smack
Yeah.
talk?
Well, I try not to because I feel like every time I do, it just backfires on me and I lose. So I try and stay quiet, but she is probably my toughest competitor. I try my best against her, and sometimes it makes me a little worse because I'm trying too hard. It's a lot of rivalry there.
Yeah, it's interesting when you see siblings race because usually it can get pretty chippy. You can see some hand gestures and some things going on where they get after it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and sometimes even after you lose, it's kinda quiet, kinda not very I don't know.
Not very fun. Have you ever
No.
done any bets against each? Because I've seen some racers have some interesting bets amongst each other. Is it just pretty much just race it out?
Yeah, it's just race it out.
That I think that for my brother and myself, if we did something like that, there'd be side bets. I mean, there'd be a lot of poking and ribbing and whatnot going on for sure. So, you know, for the entire sport of drag racing, or do you find yourself being a fan of watching other areas of the sport, or you just pretty much honed in on what you do?
Sometimes I like to go in the stands and watch. I like to look at the results and see how a lot of people in like the super classes did since I used to run in that class. I don't know, I try and keep up and see how people do.
Do you have another like favorite class that you really like to watch? The one that you like, you circle on your schedule at, at a national event. Like, I want to go. Like for me, I got to go watch stock and super stock. Is there something like that you got to check out?
Not normally, just if I have time or if someone I know is racing and I really want to go up and watch them and cheer them on, then I try my best. Like our cousin Dusty races in Top Sportsman and Super Comp, so I try and make it up for those races to see how he does.
Now, you mentioned you would, want to make a couple passes in a nitro car. Is that something that it's interesting that the way that I'm going to go with this is that there's racers that there's certain classes and cars they really want to do, and then there's certain things that they don't want to mess with. Is it just the fact that with a nitro car there would just be so much more like to it per se, where it's definitely more of a job and less fun?
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot more stress that comes with being a nitro driver and all the things that you have to do that I just don't know if I could handle on top of working, and not to mention how expensive they are. I just can't
Yeah,
imagine spending that kind of money.
they do not run on smiles and handshakes,
No.
unfortunately. And that's when things go right. They're still
Yeah.
expensive. When they go wrong, it's just like watching dollar bills float away.
Yeah, it is.
But now, if you were offered the chance to race on someone else's dime, would all that go out the window? You'd be like, "Yep, put me in that car. I'm good to go."
It it just depends on how much of my time it would take up, I guess, because my fiancé has 2 kids, so we have a family here, and I don't necessarily wanna always be gone and away from them.
That makes sense. That definitely that's admirable makes sense because it's definitely it's a slog to do that kind of stuff if you're gonna even make some of the guys that are part-timers when you go to these events, you got to put the time in and have that car ready to go.
Mhm.
Now, if you wanted to, besides a nitro car, is there anything else? If someone said, "Hey, I'm gonna let you drive anything you want," what would you take the keys to?
It'd be pretty cool to drive a pro mod, but I asked my dad already because there was an opportunity to possibly drive one this year, and he told me no, that he would prefer me to work my way up to one, like driving other door cars, because he said that they just drive completely different than a dragster would. And so that would be cool if I could, but that would take a lot of time for me probably.
Your dad has your well-being definitely in mind there, because
Yeah, he does.
like pro mods are angry vehicles that want to do everything but what you want them to do, and they are not as stable as a dragster.
No.
Because I'm sure you could probably peel the smile off your face going down the track at 250 in a door car until something bad starts to happen, then you start regretting your decision.
Yeah, probably.
And it's something, again, I think it speaks to the level of discipline it takes to drive these different vehicles because they are so different.
Mhm.
It's funny, the one vehicle that everybody always says they don't want to mess with are Nitro Harleys.
Oh,
So
yeah. That's something else.
it's the reaction. Corey McLenithan last week said to Nitro Harley said, "Nope, I'm good. Don't want."
Mm-mm. I mean, just the fact that you can't even, like, sit on them to start them is just a little scary. I don't
To
know.
me, the scariest like non two-wheel vehicle for me would be like a fuel altered, because every time I see a fuel altered run, it's like they do not go straight at all. And the driver at some point is cleaning gratuitous amounts of oil off of him because something has happened. It's just, they are angry cars. It's one of those things that it's fun for me to watch race, but when someone said, "Hey, you want to jump in one?" I'd be like, "No, I'm good."
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. They might be cool to drive. I'd give it a try.
It's tempting, but at the same time, it's like, my friend that drives a dragster, I'm like, why didn't you get an altered? He goes, I want the bomb to be behind me, not in front of me.
Yeah.
Now, what are your big plans coming into this year? What are you really looking forward to now?
Um, I'm honestly just looking forward to going to all these different tracks that I haven't been to, or it's been years that I've been to them, and hopefully getting my first national event win would be cool. I came close my first race ever, but I couldn't get it done.
Is that something that you're really going to kind of be? That's the big bowl. Every team has the goals. Win around, do this, do that. Is it pretty much the Wally, the big Wally is the big goal now?
Yeah, for me it is, yeah.
Awesome. That's important to have those goals because it's what's going to keep you driven, right?
Mhm.
Well, Rachel, our time here is coming to the end on the Dragzine podcast, and I like to give my guests their opportunity to impersonate John Force and plug all their sponsors and everything else. You don't have to act like John. I've had people do that. It's a tall order, but instead, I will just turn the floor over to you so you can thank who you need to thank, tell people where to find you, what you got going on. So the floor is yours.
All right, I want to thank NGK and NTK Spark Plugs for helping me out this year, as well as Lucas Oil. And you can find me on Facebook under Rachel Meyer Racing, as well as Instagram on Rachel Meyer Racing.
Make sure that if I see you out at an event this year, I will come up and say hi and just make sure you're doing okay and enjoying
Okay.
yourself because it's a little stressful when you start trying to make those trips out there. Trust me,
Mm-hmm.
I know what it's like when you try to slog it out for multiple events, and at a certain point that the fun starts to wear off, and sometimes you need that reminder of what you're doing is fun, right?
Yeah, true.
Well, Rachel, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you later this year.
Thank you for having me.